All right, welcome back to the BoxOut Podcast. I'm your host, Marco Trimboli, and with me today I have Rony. Rony,
Hi.
welcome to the show, buddy.
I'm Rony. I'm very happy to be on. I've been working at BoxOut for a couple months now. I go to Schulich going into my third year, so that's a little bit about me.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming. I know it's some crazy times right now. So you just mentioned quickly, you go to Schulich, your third year, you just said?
Yeah, going into third year.
Going into third year. So tell us a little bit more about that, about Schulich, your experiences there, what you enjoy.
All right, for sure. So I've been going to Schulich for 2 years now. So I'm actually this year specializing. So first 2 years I was studying, working hard. First year was tough for me, the transition from high school to university. But after about a year, I figured it out. I got into my groove, and second year was really good for me. Although I have to say second year was probably the hardest. And now, I'm specializing. I'm going to be going into operations management and information systems, and probably getting a specialization in strategic management as well. So
That's awesome, man. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear those things. So now you've been with us for about 4 months now.
Mhm.
And let's just hear about your experience with us. Like, what did you enjoy about BoxOut?
For sure. Okay, so yeah, I've been here for the whole term now. We're just finishing up, and honestly, it's been an awesome experience. This is the first time I've ever worked somewhere where I feel that I've had, how do I put it? Probably full like creative freedom and just actual responsibility. So that's been really new for me, and it's something that definitely I've benefited from, because a lot of the previous places I've worked in, it's been a lot of just do this every single day, that's your job, get it done, and then go home, clock out, right? And there wasn't really much room to think about it or worry about it. But at BoxOut, I actually have been able to utilize what I feel like are my strengths, and not only that, but also learn and find out about my own strengths, things that I didn't even know about, a lot through the interview process, which I think we're going to mention a little bit later.
Yep.
And beyond that, just working on like a million different things, because there's a lot of interdependence. We all work together here on our different projects. So I've had the opportunity to try out a lot of different things.
And that's you just mentioned that the internship process, application process, was pretty much the topic of today's podcast.
Yep.
We want to talk about that a little bit more, plus a couple of other things with our traits that we actually measure and develop.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember, even speaking to all of you, actually, was the one thing that really stuck out to you guys the most was the one-on-one meeting you guys had when you guys applied.
Yep.
So if you wanted, I wasn't there, it was with our buddy Abs.
Mm-hmm.
It was that conversation you guys had that threw you guys all off guard. So give us a little taste of that. How was that?
Yeah, so I have to say, it definitely threw me off guard, because not in a bad way, but because it was something I've never experienced before. Usually you walk into an interview, what do you expect? You expect the usual questions. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Why do you want to work here? What do you know about our company? And so on and so forth, right? With Abs, it was none of that. He asked some really, really personal and complicated questions that made me think and made me understand that he's not interested in hearing the same BS that everybody else is looking to hear. He really wants to find out who I am and whether I would fit in to work at BoxOut. And so just to elaborate a little bit, he wasn't sitting there asking me all the basic questions. Some of the things that we talked about included sort of my story, how I got to where I was, how I got to the place that I was at. And beyond that, he knew I had done some research already. I was already, prepared for this conversation. So instead of asking me, what do you know about our company? The question that he asked me that actually pertained to BoxOut was, whatever information you have so far, what you've looked at, what do you think BoxOut can improve? So that threw me off guard completely, Instead of asking me, what do you like about us? Why do you want to work here? He asked, what do you think we could be doing better? And immediately that showed me that he cares about growth and improving his company. And he wants to see already what ideas I have. What can I bring to the table, rather than, am I just going to fit into the little box that they have cut out for me, right? So in general, that conversation, I came home just beaming after that. My heart was pounding. I was like, I want to work here. This is where I want to be in summer. So it left a really, really grand impression on me.
That's us. And then I remember because I wasn't there that time because you guys met us. I believe it was at that fair, that school fair that Schulich was running.
Yeah.
So what was your encounter with them there? Like I talked to you, the first time I spoke to you was over the phone.
Yeah.
But I've heard previous stories with the other three about what kind of brought them in to the table.
Yeah.
What was it for you? Because I'll be honest, a couple of them was the Century Station, the strobes. What was it for Rony?
For me, okay, I can tell you exactly what it was because it's actually what got me to come over and have that first conversation with Abs. So I can even tell you the story. You know, I was at the sports fair and I hadn't even come for myself. You know, I was coming because a friend really interested in sports and she was looking to talk to some companies, all that. And I talked around, whatever, and I was ready to wrap it up. And I was just about walking away. And I walked past this booth all the way at the back, with this cool like sensory station, all that. Now that I know what that is, and I just heard one phrase. I heard there were these two guys standing there talking to now who I know is Abs, and I just hear Abs go, "Yeah, we don't have set positions. We customize our positions completely, or fully customize our positions around the strengths and weaknesses of our strengths and areas of opportunity of our recruits." And I heard that and I was like, no, that's seriously, that can happen. They don't just have positions. And that's what really interested me. And after those two guys walked away, I walked up and I just started straight off with that. I looked at Abs and I was like, hey man, like I heard that you don't have set positions. You guys customize positions around your recruits? He looks at me and goes, yeah. And then we got into this whole conversation. We found a lot of similarities, a lot of things that we related on. And I could tell you the thing that really hooked me, the thing that really got me was when I asked Abs, what are you guys looking for in a recruit? Common question. And, most of the time you're going to hear some stuff like, whatever it is, responsibility, taking leadership, this, that, always on time, whatever.
Yeah.
And Abs looks at me and goes, self-development. And that was it. That's when he had me. That's when I wanted to work at BoxOut. That was the moment.
Those two words, self-development.
Those two words, that was it.
And I'll be quite honest with you, that's what did it for me too, because I've said this story many times. For me, it was too Kijiji. I was searching up things for a month straight, and I actually talked about this in a previous earlier podcast in the year. I was searching stuff for years, or for months, sorry, and I would type it in the same things: development, personal development, sales, psychology, mental development, whatever the case may be, and nothing would pop up. And then I'm just like, okay, this whole list shows, and I'm like, top 4 didn't interest me, so I just let it go. Then finally, like a month later, this is the only place that came up, BoxOut. Gave it a shot, read about it. Okay, called Abs, and he said that self-development, personal development, mental development, and I'm like, okay, it resonated with me because even like my story, what I've been going with the past 15 years, and I'm just like, okay, this is something I want to try. This is something I want to do, and if I didn't have the courage to take that step to move forward, then I wouldn't be here today. And a lot of that has to go with obviously that I'm more aware of now is that growth mindset, because without the growth mindset of taking this opportunity to develop myself and grow, I would just stick in my bubble. I would stay. I would not want to go into get out of my comfort zone, sort of say. I would be always afraid and cautious and hesitant to make decisions and mistakes and stuff like that. But after meeting with him, I just realized, like, if I don't do this now, when will I ever do it? And then I don't want to go through this stuff, overanalyzing everything, saying, I wish I did this, I wish I did this. So I just finally took that step, and that came across, I got to say Kijiji. I wasn't fortunate to go to a school fair or anything like that, but that's important thing that you mentioned there was the self-development, because that's what did it for me. So I like how we have that kind of the symmetry there.
Yeah, for sure.
And you said it, where that's exactly what we look for. Just with individuals, it's just like those free-spirited thinkers that just look to do anything to improve or look to want to improve. In a sense, just to be comfortable with themselves.
For sure. And like I see that in myself. Coming into BoxOut, a lot of the things that I've actually managed to do now, I've never done before. Like some of the projects I worked on included creating like a voice logo for us, and like a whole animation and all this stuff, and working on a website redesign. I'm working on stuff that maybe I've worked on some of the similar skills in the past, but I've never done before. And it's a big change. All of the previous jobs that I was at, it was like, this is what you need to do. You do the same thing, just do it. And you know what? maybe there's not as much creative freedom there, but it's simple, right? When it comes to BoxOut, I came, and a big thing that I found was I have to take responsibility, because there's no other choice, because no one's gonna give you a project and be like, here, do this. Like the main project that I've been working on pretty much all summer, the website redesign, has actually been, it came from my own initiative. At the beginning, that first ever meeting that I had with Abs, how I told you that he asked me, what do you think we can improve? One of the things that I said was, the website, it looks amazing, but I don't really get what your company does. And that makes sense, because after working here for 4 months at BoxOut, I can see what we do. And it's something that requires time and education to figure out. It took me a while to really fully understand what it is that we do, and what kind of an impact we make. And that first meeting, when I gave Abs that point and I said, I feel like the website could have more substance, that became my biggest project when I started working at BoxOut. And that's been my goal for 4 months now, right?
Yeah, no, we're excited because that's one thing I said when you took on that project, and we've had our talks me and you before too. Is I'm excited to see the new website.
Yep.
So tomorrow? Soon enough. No, we're all looking forward to that, because for me it was the same thing. It looked nice. It was flashy, but it just didn't show us, our strengths in a sense, right? It didn't show what we really our niche was.
Yep.
Because the way we started off was we were all this physical development, these athletes like that, but we've grown so much as a company and as a business where we need to, promote it as much as possible. And that's why we wanted to do this podcast as well, as much as possible, just to go, one thing you said there, education. We need to educate.
Absolutely.
And that's what we continue to do, and that's what we'll continue to always do, is educate these individuals in life. And going back to growth mindset. If we didn't take this opportunity, we would never be in this position. We would just, sticking to the norm. Right now, we don't even know what the norm is anymore. Going through this pandemic and everything, right? So we got to take these opportunities as a step to move forward.
Absolutely.
Instead of moving backwards. So, speaking about more on that, you've been with us for 4 months. You've done all your assessments. You've done your training. What is the one, or you might have multiple, that sticks out to you the most between the visual cognitive and the psychology?
Visual cognitive and psychology. Okay. I have to say all of them honestly wowed me, because I've never I've had experience with stuff like this in the past. I actually have cross eyes, so I've done some visual therapy in the past, and I've been to a psychologist before. I've had some experience with this type of stuff, but
okay.
I have to say what really wowed me was that you guys had it all. It's not it wasn't just one thing, just we're just going to take care of this part of you, we're just going to improve this aspect of your game, of your whatever you do at work, it's everything. It's a holistic kind of view, and I think that's super important, because what I've been working on over the whole summer hasn't just been my psychological strength, maybe my confidence or something like that, or just maybe my hand-eye coordination or something like that. I've been working on everything. So honestly, I don't think I could pick. I have to say that they're all incredibly important, and maybe it's fair to say that some are more important than others when it comes to maybe certain professions or certain things you do. In driving, maybe your eyes are more important than your psychology, but at the same time, your psychology is still important there, right? So
absolutely, because that's our human nature, right? That's our character and who we are as a person. But that's very important. And the one thing I say with this, and you kind of mentioned it there, is we do everything. We want to get everything. Is what I see with a lot of people is a lot of people see and believe they're good at something. But what a lot of people tend to overlook is we know this. No one's perfect. We know that whole saying, no one's perfect. But the thing is, what they don't realize is sometimes they're overcompensating for a lot of other things. So one thing, we'll just look, for example, from the visual standpoint, the reaction time. Our reaction time can be very high, but our depth of perception can be very low. So it's you just want that to compensate for that, or do you want to be well-rounded? And that's what I always say is we need to, be well-rounded as individuals. Why have something compensate for something else when we can actually develop ourselves more holistically well-rounded? And in this, again, this goes back to our psychology trait, growth mindset. If we look to improve and want to improve, then we will improve. And I've said this plenty of times, and I know Abs has said this as plenty of times, as what you put in is what you'll get out of it. Right? And I know that's key with a lot of you, because especially you guys are young, is you still got your whole life ahead of you.
For sure.
So, the more you work hard, the more you'll get out of it the most.
Mm-hmm.
Where some people are just sticking to their comfort zone or content to where they're at. They don't want to improve. They're comfortable with the situation they're in right now, and we're trying to educate them in that direction differently.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything to add on that one there?
Yeah, for sure. So I think I'm glad that you brought up comfort zone, because a lot of it is about getting out of your comfort zone. I find for me, and having that growth mindset. There's a lot of people out there who they're comfortable, but they're not happy with what they're at. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They're just worried or scared to try something new, and it's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and say, trying something new or scary for you is going to be the easiest thing you do, but it's necessary. I find that being uncomfortable in my life, whether it's something super small, like just, I usually go on the same walk, go on like 10 more meters or whatever, or, like going up and like standing on stage and doing stand up, like something super uncomfortable, right? I find that moments that make me uncomfortable help me grow and develop. And a lot of times, like, I can say that probably 90% of the things that I'm passionate about and the things that I love, I've developed and found because I did something to make me uncomfortable, something that was scary. And like a wonderful example of that, it was how during quarantine, I learned how to longboard. And I was always terrified of that growing up. And I thought it was super cool, but I would never try it because I was like, I wouldn't be able to ride it. Like I have to balance on that? No way, there's nothing to hold on to. I'm used to a bike.
Where's the training wheels on this thing?
Yeah. So that was something that was really scary for me. But I stepped out of my comfort zone, and now it's one of the things I really, really love. I go out a couple times a week. Whenever I'm going somewhere in my neighborhood, I take my longboard, right? So I have to say that being uncomfortable and actually working on that growth mindset is incredibly important. And just to add on one more thing, when you mentioned the overcompensation with the reaction time and depth perception, it's exactly the problem I have. I grew up playing sports, and I played some baseball, and I 100% overcompensated with my reaction time for my depth perception, because when I first started, before my brain gets adjusted every practice, like a fly ball will be coming down, and I'll be standing, and I'll be like, I got this, and then boom, it just misses, right?
Yeah.
So I learned how to overcompensate with some of my stronger traits like reaction time, hand-eye coordination, when my depth perception wasn't up to par. And this summer, working on some of those things to catch up has shown me where I actually have a lot of areas of opportunity to become even better at some of the sports or other activities in my life than I already am.
Yeah, no, that's like me too. It's funny that you brought that up, is because even like I played hockey growing up, soccer, everything that you can think of, and I always had good hand-eye coordination. I had always good reaction time, and I assumed I had good depth perception.
Mm-hmm.
I came to do my assessment, and my depth perception was a 1%.
Yeah,
but my reaction time was an 80. My hand-eye coordination was a 75, and I'm just thinking, okay, like this makes sense now. And then I remember Abs telling me, and he might kill me for saying it, but he was a 1% too when he started. But now, obviously, through his training, he's a lot better. But that just showed me, is like, why would I want something to compensate for something else if I can actually truly develop this?
Yeah.
And that's the things where people that are not educated in this, that don't understand what can actually be done out there, is something that we're trying to do, to show them, like, because again, we hear people talk about mental development, how important it is. We hear them saying, oh, this is a necessity, you got to do this, but they're still hesitant. They're still in that fixed mindset, sort of say, right? Where we're trying to, again, teach them about growth mindset. That's why we're doing this whole podcast. But even the people with growth mindsets can go to that fixed mindset real quick.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's something where I see, to be honest, in sports with people, right? But you can even think about school, right? Like, can you think about any examples from the school side? People that with growth mindsets can get to a fixed mindset real quick?
For sure. Like transitioning from
a growth mindset to a fixed mindset.
Oh yeah, I could probably even think of some examples of myself. I remember last year I had a lot of courses that were really tough. I had like finance. I remember that was a killer. And there were a lot of times when I really doubted myself. I think that I'm a smart guy. I try my best, but when it came to that course, some of the problems, some of the concepts, I kind of looked at and I just was like, you know what, I can't do this. Like, maybe I should just give up.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, eventually I figured it out. I took the extra steps, and after a while I realized I don't really have a choice. So I made myself uncomfortable. I went and I spoke to friends. I spoke to my teacher. I tried to get extra help.
Yep.
And you know what? It really paid off, because I'm not going into finance, so I'm not going to say I did amazing, but I was proud of my result at the end. So I managed to deal with the concepts, but I really caught myself for, I think it was, I don't remember the exact time anymore, but for like a month, I kind of was just in this place where I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do about this whole course because of these few concepts, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of flew into that fixed mindset for a little while until I really just pushed myself out of it because I realized I don't have a choice. I want to do well, right?
No, absolutely. And like, give you the example for the sports with a lot of the clients like I've dealt with in the past and continue to deal with now is a lot of them have their goals of, I want to go pro. You hear that with every kid who's playing a sport now. I want to go pro. But the thing is, and these are kids with the growth mindset. They'll put on all the work. They'll do everything they have to do to get done to get to that goal. But what I see is a lot of people that get to that professional level, sort of say, they just give up. And I always say it's not about getting there that's difficult. It's staying there. That's the key. Because, and one thing I say, to be honest, I know you probably heard me say this a couple of times, growth never ends. Growth is an ongoing process. Growth only ends if you allow it to end. Because at the end of the day, and personally I say this is my own perspective saying this, is growth only ends, unfortunately, when we pass away. When we can't do anything anymore.
Yep.
But at the end of the day is we can always create new goals for ourselves. And I say this, you hear me always say, it's a process, patience and process, right? We can't go from step 1 to step 20 just like that. You got to go step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. And that's we can set individual goals. We have our ultimate goal at step 20, but these little individual goals to get
can't just go straight to 20.
Exactly. The whole Drake 0 to 100 real quick, that doesn't happen. But that's what's important to tell people and educate them and said, like, listen, like, you got to always want to improve. You got to always want to be better. Because at the end of the day, we know, and I'm going to say it again, we're not perfect.
And at the end, that's also what we're made to do as humans. We're not meant to do just the same thing all the time. When we're born, what is it that we do for the first couple of years at an incredibly alarming rate? We learn, we learn language, we learn how to walk, we learn all this type of stuff. And as we get older, we keep learning. Like somebody who I talk to who's like 50 years old has a completely different perspective on a lot of different topics than I do because they've learned, they've grown. And that's why it's important to, get uncomfortable and keep trying to get more out of life because we're not meant to just sit around and do nothing, right? We're meant to keep pushing.
Exactly. You said that we're meant to keep pushing. And again, and that's on us, right? Because I know you mentioned about the psychology factor and even myself, right, with the whole last 15 years with the depression, anxiety, the way I took that stand now, like I was in the fixed mindset for a long time, but the way I took that stand once I started at BoxOut and honestly, once I met Abs and everything, it just showed me why am I living my life in a way where others are kind of expecting me to live it or dictating my life, where I'm like, no, I'm going to do my way, do my my own development, sort of say, and really do the things that I enjoy, because that's the way I can reach my full potential.
For sure.
That's the way I can grow. If I were to say, hey, Rony, do this, do this, do this, you might not want to do it.
Yeah.
Why would you do it, right? And that's how I felt growing up. So I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do me. I'm going to be me, be myself. I always say to people, be yourself at the end of the day. Yeah, listen to people sometimes because some people, like you mentioned, are older. They see things in a different perspective. But again, that's just an opinion. If it's some good thought in there, then take it. But at the same time, when people say, hey, do this, this worked for me, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you.
No.
And that's where part of, again, the growth mindset is, okay, I'm going to take this information, but I'm going to take it into my own way.
Yeah, take it through your perspective. And I find that's really, really important because there's a fine line between, listening to others and, living based on others. And for me, that was a lesson I had to learn growing up, especially with my parents, because, I really respect and care for my parents, but oftentimes they had opinions that I thought weren't right for me. And it was a big learning lesson for me to learn how to, always respect their opinion and listen to it, but recognize which parts of it were relevant to me, because it's not always, you're never going to have people give you a bunch of advice and have every single piece relate to you. You got to take what's right for you, understand the perspective and oftentimes where it's coming from, but not go beyond that and take that on and say, okay, that's my perspective now. That's who I am now. You got to understand who you are from your own perspective. But at the same time, obviously, consider other people's opinions.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the one thing that resonated with me because, I'm Italian. So I'm like, I used to be stubborn, hard headed and stuff
Yeah.
like that, right? Because when people used to say things like, no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
This is the way. So, but then I realized, just listen to people's opinions because why should I allow, again, because if I showed my frustration and another trait, composure, right? If I allowed their opinions to affect me, then they're getting the advantage.
You're taking it personally.
Exactly. They're getting the advantage.
Yeah.
But if I just take, okay, this is their opinion, this is what they're saying, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I respect it, but I don't have to, you keep on going. And that's the key. You just got to keep on going, put in the work, do whatever it takes. Because, you know how many people said to me since I started here, like, oh, are you kidding me? You left your family company to come do this? Like, what's wrong with you? And I said, because I love it. Right? And these are the same people, to be honest, I know deep down that they hate their job.
Yeah.
And they're doing it because of the money, which is good. Okay. And I talked this in another podcast, success. Everyone has a different version of success. And I can't stand when people say, you need to do this because this is so scary. You got to buy a house. You got to have a family. You got to do this. Eventually, yeah, I will. Doesn't mean I have to do it right now.
For sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Again, the step process.
And, I had a similar story to that where it wasn't as long as yours, but, for about 6 months, over a year ago now, I was working at the bank and I was doing school at the same time. So I was working like 25, 30 hours a week doing school, still had my family responsibilities, wanted to see my friends, all that. And I was incredibly overloaded. And, at the time, my family was super happy. They were like, look at our son working at the bank. My friends were all impressed. Look at what he's doing. He's managing all this stuff. But after a couple of months, I realized, I'm stressed. I'm anxious all the time. I'm not coming home after my day of work and going, wow, I did so good today. I'm going, I need to go to bed.
Yeah.
And I had no motivation. My school grades were suffered from it because I was trying to do too much. Obviously I think it's more manageable nowadays for me to be able to work and do school and, whatever works for other people for sure. But at the time for me, I was dealing with a lot beyond just school and work, and having all of that together was really tough for me. So, I took a step back. Once the next year of school was starting, I quit my job and I focused solely on school for a year. And I'm really, really happy I did because I was able to refocus. I got my grades up. That's what I was talking about. My first year was difficult. And my second year, I really came back. And that's even harder than the first year. And towards the end of second year, mainly throughout second semester, I did something that I really didn't do at all in first year. I started networking, going to events, going to clubs, whatever. And that's the fair that I met Abs at, right?
Yeah.
And so I refocused and I started doing what made me happy, And now I've had my term with BoxOut and it's been amazing. I don't finish a day of work and go, I finished a day of work and go, I'm really happy I got that done. I feel accomplished. I feel like I did meaningful work today. So,
and I remember this. Maybe this was when we first started. Maybe not even that long ago. I remember you saying this this is the job. And again, you're so young. You got a lot more jobs to come from. Where you're like, I tell my family I had a great day today. From work, I tell all the time. You guys you and Abs. You always say that you and Abs are just. You guys are not regular people that that we are intimidated from. Because to be honest, most of the people that work for, are their bosses or sense they're intimidated.
Yeah.
But we said that for you. We work together. There's not you're working for us. We work together. BoxOut, we're unified.
Yeah.
There's no higher rank, nothing like that. It's we said, we want you guys in to create your own opportunities, create your own paths, because we want that helps you grow overall as a person.
Yeah. And you know what, I have to say that's one of the strongest points at BoxOut, and at the same time also even a challenge. And I think that most of the interns can speak to the fact that coming in the first couple weeks, it was hard to refocus and go from that mentality of I'm going to be given everything and I just need to do to I need to take responsibility and I need to actually start these projects. If I want to start something, I can't just be like, hey, can you guys set it up for me, build the structure, and then I'll get to work? No, you have to start from scratch.
And that's the process system, remember?
Yeah.
You gotta start from the beginning. You can't just jump in, start in the middle. It's the whole start from the beginning.
For sure.
And you'll get to the end. But for a lot of people, it's hard for them to start from the beginning because they think they think they have this timeline now. They think they got to rush into things. But if you really want to succeed, you start from the beginning. and you'll get to that end goal.
For sure. And I think it was honestly, like, for me, an invaluable skill to learn how to start my own projects, how to work through them. And the feeling that I got from finishing a project was incredible. It's amazing. And it's something that's really, really powerful, because now I know I'm going to go back to school, and I've started just from start to finish, completed my own projects. When I go back to school and I'm given a project, you know how much easier that's going to be for me to do?
You're more prepared now.
Much more prepared, right? So I've learned some really, really valuable skills through my term at BoxOut. So,
well, I'm glad. And again, man, like, what, from start to finish, we've seen the growth in you ourselves, and a lot more to come from.
for sure.
So, you know, I know we're cutting on time here, but key takeaways for today. What did you enjoy? Or not even today. What key takeaways from BoxOut in general from your term? I know we talked about this a little briefly, but your whole experience, your whole today about the growth mindset, what was it all about for you?
Honestly, I think if I could boil it down, I could boil it down to one main concept, and that main concept for me is try new things, you know? Because even throughout the whole interview process, throughout my whole term, mainly what I've been doing is trying new things, you know? And even from the interview process, you know, after I did that initial conversation with Abs, I had my TAP assessment. He was like, all right, next, make me a vlog. And I was like, okay, I've never done that, but that's exciting. So I did that, and I loved it. And then he was like, write me a blog. And you know what I've been doing all summer since then? I've been writing blogs.
Writing blogs.
I love it. It's awesome, you know? And whether it's from like something personal, like how I tried longboarding, or to something here, you know, getting out of your comfort zone, whatever it is, I think it's all about trying new things, you know? And it's scary, right? But it's something that makes life really, really interesting for me. And I think it develops that growth mindset, and keeps you learning and doing what you're supposed to do as a person, you know? So that's what I think the most important thing is, just trying new things.
Try new things. So that's your advice you would give to these future kids looking for jobs, just try new things?
Absolutely. Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Just plunge right in. Dive in head first.
I like that, man, because to be honest, I used to be terrified of a lot of things. I used to be terrified of public speaking, and look at us now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I didn't think I'd be, you know, a host on a podcast.
Yeah.
But if you don't try these new things, you'll never know.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I like that. So that's the advice. Try new things. So, Rony, thanks again, man, for being a part of this.
Absolutely.
I really hope you had fun. I enjoyed everything.
I had a wonderful time.
Guys, thank you for joining the BoxOut Podcast. This is episode 5. Check it out on our YouTube channel. And take care.
Yeah. Take care, everyone.